Hi, I'm Adam from RoomRaccoon, and this video is just going to give you a quick tour of our channel manager. So if you're not familiar with what a channel manager is, it essentially manages your rates and your availability, both in terms of your direct bookings, so telephone bookings you're adding to the PMS or bookings that are coming through your booking engine on your website, as well as bookings from third parties. So if you're working with online travel agents like booking.com or Expedia. And we just maintain and manage those and update those from a central location. So first place to start with is sort of blocking off stuff. So if I just add, I'm just going to add a quick block out a room for a couple of days here, save that. You can obviously do that for the whole lot or do it for a long period of time, but I'm just going to add a quick one here. You'll see we get a nice grey line here signifying that room's been blocked off. Now that room will now instantly not be available to book through your website or through any of the third parties you work with, because that change will be instantly synchronized. So what I'm going to do now is take you over to our rates and availability screen, and what you will see here is a whole array of numbers and colours. So I'm just going to sort of talk you through those very quickly and what this all means. So the default view here is for sort of all of our room types, but you can sort of zoom in and focus on a particular room if you want. But I'm just going to keep it on all room types for now. So we've obviously got the days of the month along the top here. These lines along the top just signify how many rooms I've got left on a given night. So, and we work on a sort of a shading system, so you can see that at a glance. So obviously the darker it is, the less I have. So pretty dark over here, pretty light over here where I still have a full complement of stock. And then below that are my prices, and you'll see some of those are sort of in bold and some of those are sort of greyed out. So those greyed out prices are linked or derived prices if you prefer, and that's our preferred way of working. And what I mean by that is we start with a base rate type or a sort of a building block, and we build out from there. And the main purpose of working that way is it's just an awful lot more efficient and eliminates mistakes in when amending and updating prices, either manually or programmatically by yield rule. And I'll come back to yield rule sort of later on in this video. So you'll see with my rates, I start with a room only rate and a single guest, and I build out from there. So when I add another guest, I add some money to it. If I move to a different rate type, it gets more expensive, and so on and so forth. So those rules exist in the background, so there's sort of modifiers applied to those, and you can set them up, and they can be a percentage increase, they can be a fixed sum increase, however you want it to work. But what it means is when I change that price, so I'm just going to change the price there tonight from 65 to 70, very quick to change, but what you'll see is that's changed all the prices below it as well. So it just means I can update all of those prices by changing one price here rather than having to do all of that. We tend to separate out, maybe we've got a sort of a package just because it doesn't behave in the same fashion as some of our other prices, so we do that separately. And we also tend to separate out our online travel agent rates. Now here I just have a rate for booking.com. I could have a separate rate for Expedia, for Agoda, for whatever else, or I could just have a single OTA rate. It depends how you want to manage them and how we map them at the connection stage. But we tend to manage those separately from your direct rates because you perhaps want them to behave in a different fashion. You might have different restrictions or different price change rules, but that's all fine. But you know, broadly they work in the same way. So if I change a price here, it'll change the 2-person rate as well, and that price change will instantly be synchronized to booking.com. Now, I appreciate that's sort of how you make an ad hoc change. You can just click on it and quickly overtype it and that will resync. But obviously if you're making any sort of considerable changes, if you're setting prices for the year ahead or you're changing them for a month down the line, that's pretty labor intensive. So what you can do is just perform a bulk action up here at a room type level. So if I just click on that pencil, I'll get a window come up and I can just say, look, I just want to change my prices for, I don't know, month of June, let's say. And I just want to change those during the midweek, so I'm going to ignore Friday and Saturday, and I'm just going to make myself slightly more expensive, and you'll see again those other prices will change based on the rules you have in place, and I'll enable them to be overridable by my yield rules. So I'm just going to synchronize that, all done, and you'll see you get a message confirming that that's been done. And by the same fashion, if you want to apply truly global changes, you can click on this sort of gear icon at the top here, and then we can say, actually, if I just want to set my prices for next year, let's say, I'm just going to set my prices from Jan all the way through to the end of December, and all I'm going to say is I'm just going to be £5 a night more expensive than I was this year, or I'm just going to put them up by 2%. Again, they can be override by my yield rules, and I'm going to apply that to everything. So all of my room types, all of my rate types. So there's obviously quite a lot of data I'm updating there, but I'm just going to synchronize that now, give it a little think, and that's done. And there's our message confirming that's been. So you've now reset your entire prices for next year just with a 2% uplift. So that's pretty cool. As I said, you may have noticed some of these have a little orange triangle on the right hand side. That just is to say that there's a restriction active. So what I mean by that, something away from the norm, so that might be it's close to check-in, it might be there's a minimum stay or a maximum stay rule in place. You can see here that that's because there's a minimum stay, because we've highlighted that, and that's just because I have a 2-night minimum on my Fridays and Saturdays, which is fairly sort of commonplace. But you might also notice that some of these are on a bluey grey background, and that means that those prices have been automatically changed by a yield rule that we have set up. So I'm going to take you and show you that now. So we have a yield manager, so I'm just going to go up here and go to our yield section, and basically again, for those of you not familiar, yield is just a pricing concept, and it's around anticipating or influencing prices sort of based on demand. So in a very simple terms, you are adjusting your prices based on what is happening around you. So in very simple terms, if you're doing exceptionally well, you may want to increase your prices. If you're not doing so well, maybe you want to decrease them. Now clearly it's a lot more sophisticated than that, but it's just the simplest way maybe to explain it. So I've got a few yield rules set up here. So I've got my sort of ones here, my ahead of the curve and early bird. And what they're doing is they're looking at things a long way out. So I'm saying, look, if I've got sort of a full stock, sort of 6 months or more out, I'll actually give a 20% discount on my prices just to sort of get that stock moving. But as soon as I've sold 15%, which is probably a room in each category on my setup, stop, remove that 20% discount, go back to my normal prices. But what I'm then saying is, hey, look, if that's actually going pretty well, and within that same period, so that's sort of 6 months in the future, if I've sold more than half of my stock, let's knock my prices up a bit. I've maybe misread demand, and I've got an opportunity to cash in a bit here. I then have it sort of working the other way, my sort of last minute stuff. And so I'm saying, look, if I've still got anything more than sort of 40% of my stock still available, 40% of my room still available, and we're sort of a week or less out, I just want to discount those. I just want to discount those, and I want to discount those globally. That's my direct, that's my booking.com, because I just want to try and sell that, because I can't ever sell that empty room again. Once it's been and gone, that's gone. And then I've got my kind of last minute panic rule here saying, look, if it's 2 days out, I really am going to offer some generous discounting. And obviously you can manage this manually. The advantage of setting up these yield rules is it will always apply it consistently. You'll never forget, you'll never get busy, it'll just do it. And it means you can just sort of set them in to do it in a pretty systematic fashion. So that's where you're seeing these blue items here. These are those last minute yield rules. So here I've obviously got sort of sufficient stock left that I'm panicking enough to reduce them. Whereas here, because I've only got one room left, I'm actually not reducing anything because my yield rule no longer works, no longer qualifies, because I'm less panicked, because I've not got, like here, I've still got 6 rooms left, so time to do some discounting. And so if I go back to those yield rules, they're sort of pretty easy to configure. So we actually have some standard ones we can preload for you, sort of industry-based normal ones, but you can of course create these, and we have some customers that have got a whole sort of myriad of rules sort of as things go through. Others keep it pretty simple, like this, like I have here. But if I just go into one here, all we're really doing is sort of setting, look, when do we want this apply? Are we looking at this availability at a global level, or are we looking at a sort of a specific room type level? So you can apply them maybe against your standard rooms, but not against your more premium rooms. And then we're sort of saying, look, what are we talking about in terms of time or weeks? You know, are we looking at that? And then ultimately, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to discount it? Do you want us to increase the price, and so on and so forth? And look, then when should it apply? So you'll see a lot of my rules don't apply on a Friday and Saturday. They're my busiest nights, and I'll back myself to sell them. I don't want to do heavy discounting on Friday and Saturdays. And a lot of people may not have those apply in peak season, so they may not apply in August and July. And we can sort of set an actual time window on how long this rule stays in effect for. And then broadly what you'll see up here is what rate types it's affecting. So you'll see I've not actually got this on my booking.com, my OTA rules. I'll set up something different for those, and they're not active. But these ones are, and what that's broadly showing you is if that rule is in effect today, what would that do to your price? So that sort of 20% discount would take it from £85 a night to 68. So if I move this slider, you'll see the prices move with it. So it's just quite a good sort of visual representation of actually that rule you're creating, what is the real impact on that. And then yeah, so we can set those up, and then we can just save those. And then if we go back to the yield manager, we can just sort of tidy it up so we can have it opt to round prices, because otherwise if you sort of start discounting by percentages, you end up with sort of 37p here, 43p there. So if you want to tidy that up, you can just round that, and then when you implement a new rule, you just hit the synchronize button, and that'll just update your prices based on those yield rules ahead. And that's it. That's our channel manager. Is a very quick summary. If you've got any questions, or if you'd like to arrange a demo, please do get in touch. Thanks very much. Bye.